So the other day we looked at a Manchester United second 11, putting together a team of players who didn't start their last Premier League game. Well, today we're going to do exactly the same with rivals Manchester City, making a team out of the players who did not start in their 2-1 win over Bournemouth before the international break. Where would this Manchester City second 11 finish in the Premier League? In goal we've got Claudio Bravo. Okay, we're off to a bad start here. The Chilean stopper had a shocking first season at Eastlands that saw him eventually replaced by Willy Caballero, having been brought in to take the place of Joe Hart, who was seemingly no good with his feet according to Pep. Bravo's first season went so well that Guardiola had to pay a world record fee for a goalkeeper to bring in Edison to take the number 1 spot. Considering Bravo struggles with most shots, he'd be no good on a night out either, and this team already isn't looking pretty. At right back we've got Kyle Walker. The £50 million fullback is Guardiola's first choice right back, but suspension ruled him out of the trip to Bournemouth, therefore he's eligible for this Man City second 11, and he's not a bad option considering Walker is one of, if not the best right back in the country now, as I prepare for a barrage of comments saying Antonio Valencia is better. Between Walker and Danilo, City are fairly well covered in the right back department. Our first centre back is John Stones. Another player who struggled in his first season at the Etihad, John Stones can expect to be in and out of the City side this season, with Vincent Kompany managing to keep his body all in one piece so far, allowing Guardiola to rotate his centre backs, or even play 3 at the back if needs be. The former Everton man got a lot of stick last season for his performances, but he'd walk into most Premier League teams, so to be in Man City's second 11 shows how good a squad they've got. He's alongside ELIAQUIM Mangala. If Guardiola had had his way, it would be Johnny Evans in this second 11, but City weren't able to bring the Northern Irish centre-half to Eastlands, so they're just going to have to rely on Mangala as backup, which is a terrifying thought considering how frail Vincent Kompany's body is. Mangala is another defender who has struggled in the Premier League, so much so that City did try and sell him in the summer. The French centre-back had 2 difficult seasons in England before being loaned out to Valencia last season, so maybe cracks are starting to appear in this second 11. Left back is Tosin Adarabioyo, that might be how you say it. This is where Man City's depth in defence comes into question. The Manchester-born youngster is actually a centre-half, but the lack of a left back other than Benjamin Mendy at the club means Adarabioyo is going to have to slot in at full back. While Danilo can play both right back and left back, City aren't that well stocked with defenders, especially considering how much money they've spent on them in recent years. 19-year-old Adarabioyo has never made a Premier League appearance, sorry for butchering his name, but could be called upon this season. On the right of midfield we've got LEROY SANE. Back to the big hitters, and 21-year-old LEROY SANE could very easily be a starter at Man City, such as the young man's talents. Sané scored 5 goals in his debut Premier League season last year, and as long as he isn't deployed as a wing-back, could cause problems for the best defences in the country. Pace and dribbling ability, the German could go on to be a top Premier League player if he continues to add more goals and assists to his game. In the middle we've got FABIAN DELPH. Still a snake to Aston Villa fans, you'd be excused for forgetting that FABIAN DELPH is still a Man City player. While certainly impressive on his day, you can hardly argue that DELPH doesn't look out of place alongside the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva, but at least he's contributing to the English quarter, so he's bringing something to the party at least. A mid-table Premier League midfielder at best, DELPH is certainly punching above his weight on the Man City bench. Up next we've got YAYA TOURE. The big Ivorian has come a long way since this time last year. Toure had been exiled by Pep Guardiola and looked certain to be leaving the club, but he would find a way back into the side after an apology from his agent. But even after his return, it seemed likely that Toure would leave Eastlands, but he somehow signed a new contract at the club and could have a part to play later in the season, having begun the campaign on the bench. Whatever you do, don't forget that his birthday is the 13th of May. In fact, we'll set up a GoFundMe page now and get the lad a present for next year. Our third centre mid is İlkay Gündoğan. Having arrived from Borussia Dortmund, Gündoğan got his Man City career off to a flying start last season once he got back from injury, and just as he was finding form, the German was struck down with another injury, and all football fans laughed at him because his teammates wore shirts with his name on to show him their support. You heartless people. Gündoğan will be a great addition to Man City once he returns from injury, but for the minute he'll have to settle for a place in the second team, despite being good enough for most Premier League midfields. On the left flank we've got Phil Foden. Another youngster in this 11, Foden was born on the 28th of May 2000, making him just a baby at 17 years old. Despite his boyish features, Guardiola included Foden on the pre-season tour of America over the summer, and he's appeared on the bench for Man City in the opening weeks of the Premier League season. It's rare that we see someone come through the Manchester City Academy and play for the first team, but it seems like Foden could be heading that direction. But then again, maybe it suggests Man City's squad isn't as deep as anticipated if a 17-year-old gets in their reserve side. And up front we've got Sergio Aguero. This is frightening, because Aguero is one of, if not the best striker in the league right now, yet he's in Manchester City's second string side. That's only because he was dropped to the bench for the trip to the Vitality, but those are the rules, okay? Competing with Gabriel Jesus for a starting berth, Aguero is being challenged for the first time in his City career since the Brazilian youngster arrived in January. But while Jesus is the flavour of the month, Aguero has stayed the course for many seasons, scoring at least 20 goals in 4 of his 6 Premier League seasons. It's not a bad backup really. So that's it, Manchester City's second 11 using players who didn't start at Bournemouth. Whereabouts do you think this team could finish in the Premier League? Surely it would be a top half side. Thanks for watching, let us know your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.